Alright troops, VR Vampy here, and I am back. Yes, I am back after 5 months, I think it is. I think it's 5 months. Anyway, I am back, and I am back to explain why I was not about. Because it was never my plan to just disappear and stop making videos. Because I enjoyed making videos. I've always enjoyed making videos. And it wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm burnt out, I needed a break. Nothing like that. It was basically family. You know, things happened within the family, which I will explain. Phone, please, don't be so noisy. I'm doing something. And a lot of you will probably already know because a lot of you are close to me. And are on my Facebook and things like that. Others will not, and that is why I am explaining, obviously, what had happened. So I was going to write down a whole, big note and read from it, but I thought, you know what, I'll just sit, have a coffee like I normally do when I'm playing games, and we will talk about basically what was going on. So a while ago, I gave up where I was living to move back in with my parents. It was genuinely to save money because I want to move to Australia and I wanted to go and visit first because my partner's in Australia. As a lot of you will know, I met somebody on YouTube, a lovely woman called Mishka's Gaming. You'll probably know, a lot of you'll know her. So yeah, I wanted to basically come and be with Mish. And quickly from moving in, I realised that basically mum and dad needed the help. I felt dad was struggling and that mum had early onset dementia. And working with dementia, it was kind of easy to see. So trying to get that sorted, it took a long time because the way things were going, this was at the time of COVID. And at the beginning, basically when I was trying to phone doctors and you couldn't get a hold of your own doctor surgery because of COVID, you were having to go through other doctors who didn't know, who obviously didn't know my mum and didn't know anything about my mum and stuff like that. Anyway, things get basically held back and things like that. Anyway, I was living there and I was helping, but I was still working. So I was doing 12-hour shifts and coming home and helping day stuff from days off, shopping, stuff like that. And then dad's health started deteriorating and he kind of started with his feet. And my dad's diabetic. So we were kind of thought, oh, maybe it's just something to do with diabetes. And so he was going to get his feet sorted every week. It's fine. But then he started getting pains in his back. He ended up in hospital. They said it was COVID. And then because we couldn't go and see him, he ended up with delirium. He had delirium. He was in the hospital for, I think it was like 3 weeks. And he got out and he was home for 2 weeks. And then he was back in hospital again. Because he still had these pains in his lung. So I phoned an ambulance for him because he was in a lot of pain. And he went in and he had blood clots in his lung. So they were dealing with that. And he still had the delirium. Like his delirium wasn't as bad when he was at home. I think it was just because it was in a familiar place, even though he would kind of once in a while say, are you sure this is where I live? And we'd go, this is where you lived. I've lived here for like 38 years. So My mum's got dementia. My mum was saying each day, you know, I'm going home, packing our bags, getting ready to go home. We're like, Mum, you're home. Now my dad's got delirium. He's like, you sure this is my house? So it was kind of like, oh my God, this, it was a lot. But it didn't matter. My mum and dad just get on with it. Me and my sisters dealt with everything. That's just how it was. So, my dad was in hospital for 7 weeks. I think it was 7 weeks. And he would he'd lost a lot of weight, a hell of a lot of weight. And that was my main concern, because when I spoke to the nurse, she says, what is your main concern? And I says, his weight loss was my main concern. Because my dad was always a big man. To suddenly see him just lose all this weight so fast was scary, very scary. And so they concentrated on his food, but they said he had like infections and things like that. He would be on antibiotics. They would say they were working. They were saying his kidneys was doing well, because they were now saying that his kidneys were drying up and they needed fluid, but they couldn't give him too much fluid because he's got such a bad heart and it's not good for the heart. So we kind of felt like we were in a catch-22. 1 minute they were sorting one thing, but then something else was kind of going on with him. He really was not well. He wasn't even mobilising anymore. We were visiting him and he was in bed. He was delirious, very bad delirious, seeing things, hallucinating. Very hard to watch, and then come home and obviously mum doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't understand, where her husband suddenly went, so we gets a phone call. Well, I gets a phone call early one morning, the hospital basically saying, come quick, so I phones my other sisters, because one of the nurses says, we tried to get a hold of one of your sisters, couldn't get a hold of us. I phoned one, and then the other one phoned me, and I says, we have to get up there. But it was too late. He was already, he was gone, he was just, everything was just too much for him. So that was it. And for somebody like me, who is very much a daddy's girl, to suddenly see your dad lifeless, gone, was very hard. It was hard on us, me and my sisters and my nieces and everybody that knew my dad, because my dad was such a likeable person. He was a big man with such a great sense of humour. Everybody who knew him well called him Big Shug. And it wasn't until he passed away we actually realised how many people knew my dad and loved my dad, because we get cards, sympathy cards for so many people, people that we didn't even know, people who, when he went shopping, because my dad always went to the same shop every 3 days a week, on the same days, all the time, and he get the same taxi drivers all the time coming back, and they had all noticed that they hadn't seen him for such a long time. And I was so busy looking after mum and going to work that, Nana's ever went down there and said, to tell them, because we didn't know. We didn't know he was so well known down there. And obviously I was just ordering shopping to come at the house and stuff like that, because that's the only time I had to deal with things. So yeah, basically, we had letters from, like, cards for the taxi rank, down at the taxi rank at, where my dad shopped and things like that. And just neighbours, neighbours were amazing. All the neighbours knew my dad, loved my dad. So many people who just kind of came out. People even who weren't even in our street. They were in the next street down who knew him. And they knew him for like taking the dogs out for a walk and to stop to have a chat, and things like that. So, yeah, basically losing my dad was the reason, and dealing with everything else. And then because I was planning to come to Australia to be with Mish, we could not leave my mum in the house by herself now that obviously she had dementia. So I was working to, me and my sisters were working to get my mum into a care home where we knew she would be safe and that she would be looked after. So that was hard because she went for 1 month to losing her husband to then, losing her dogs. Well, she didn't lose her dogs. My niece took the dogs, but obviously they were her dogs and they were with her all the time. So it was a big change for her. She was worried about the dogs. And then losing her home because she couldn't live in a 3-bedroom house by herself with dementia. And it was just, there was no way she would manage. But luckily enough, when she went into the care home, and it's a care home that I know very well because I used to work there, and all the girls are fantastic there, that basically she just settled in really well, settled in like she lived there, all her life, and gets to see the dogs because dogs are allowed in, and my niece brings the dogs up so she can see the dogs. She still sometimes forgets Dad's not here, and she will ask, but then she will remember because she was at the funeral, and she'll go, I remember I was at the funeral. So I'm going to come back to making videos, PC and VR, since it's October and we are coming into Halloween soon. I have decided I'm going to do the VR Paranormal Activity game. Why? I do not know. I absolutely hate scary games, but hey, I love scary games. I just hate them in VR because they're so much more real, but I will play it. I am coming back because I wouldn't say I'm over the fact that I've lost my dad, because I don't think you ever get over the fact that you lose your dad or any parent. But I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to come back and basically just start playing games, start getting back to being me. I am now in Australia now with Mish, and it's took a while to get here to bring all my things over, like my computer and everything that I had before, and get everything all set up again. But I have done it, and I am looking forward to making videos for you again, guys. I'm back. I'm sorry this was such a depressing update. It was, but I felt though I wanted to explain my reasons for just disappearing, because it was never my intention just to disappear, as I said. Things happened, and I hope you would understand that the things that happened were, I needed to take the time away, which I did, and I am better now to come back. I hope you will be happy that I'm back and doing games. I have a lot of different VR games. I'm going to be doing Bone Labs. I have Green Hell. Also, if you want me to play Green Hell, I have Green Hell, which I do love games where you get to make things and craft and all that. And in VR, I think it'll be so much more fun. I have Paranormal Activity, like I say, that I'm going to be playing that. I also have a few other little games here and there that I haven't really played yet. I also want to finish Live and Remain. I'm on part 3 for that, so I will finish that also. But since it's a Halloween season, I thought I'll start with a brand new game, Paranormal Activity, try and get that finished for this month, and then at least that's kind of my Halloween game in, for October. So guys, with that, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna say I missed yous a lot. It was when I make games, I always do it for like having fun myself, but also to make people laugh and feel like I'm kind of helping other people. Maybe they've had a rubbish day and they find my videos funny enough to come and watch and have a laugh at maybe see me really scared or a bit of my banter. And I have missed that. I have missed that immensely. And hopefully we will get back into that again. For a while, guys, I'm probably not gonna do a VR game and have me in it. I am gonna try and do VR games and become the character that's within the VR. I think that's going to be a lot more fun to do. I've also got the game Twilight Zone, which I feel is going to be a good one. So if I finish Paranormal Activity early enough, I am gonna probably play the Twilight Zone. I love the Twilight Zone. And to be able to play a VR game, I think that's going to be really good. So with it, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you very much for watching this update. I hope to all see you soon. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.